Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're looking at the Asus Strix GL702VM laptop. This is a gaming laptop with the GTX 1060 card in it. And the thing that made this interesting to me is supposedly this is a VR ready laptop. So we are going to take a look at it and see what we think. The outside of the machine is all plastic, but it has a very solid feel and kind of a brushed metal look, so it feels and looks very premium. Inside the machine, it sports a Core i7 6700HQ 2.6 GHz processor, 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM, a 1 terabyte 7200 RPM hard drive, so there's no SSD in here, and 6 gigabyte NVIDIA GTX 1060 video card. NVIDIA no longer has the M designation for a majority of the mobile cards, so it's just the GTX 1060. There's no M after it. Along the left side of the laptop, we have a 3.5mm headphone jack, USB 3.0 port, USB-C port, full-size HDMI 2.0 port, mini display port, and a gigabit Ethernet and power. On the right side of the machine, we have the SD card reader, 2 more of those USB 3.0 ports, and a security lock. Opening up the laptop reveals the chiclet style keyboard with number pad. This keyboard is really nice to type on, even for extended periods of time. I had no issue. For my taste, there's just the right amount of travel and responsiveness for both typing and playing games. The trackpad is off-center, which may bother some people, but I don't really have a problem with because it's centered on the keyboard minus the numpad. So it's not centered on the device, but it's centered against the main part of the keyboard. For me, I use it with the mouse 90% of the time, so regardless of where it's on the machine, it doesn't really bother me. But when I do use it, it's very responsive and smooth, and it has native Windows drivers, so it's a little extra smooth than another driver as an overlay. The display is this beautiful, bright, full HD, which is 1920 by 1080 LED display with very good color reproduction in games and great overall image quality. I specify in games because the color reproduction, if you're doing Photoshop and stuff, is a little bit off. So for any color correction that you're doing in video or anything that you're going to be doing in Photoshop, you might have some issues with this display, but in games it looks beautiful. The best part about the GTX 1060 and the display combination is that they both support G-Sync. What G-Sync does is synchronize the display refresh rate to the GPU. So what that basically means is you get this incredibly smooth and fluid display, even at times of very fast motion, and the screen tearing is pretty much non-existent on this device. The machine also comes with an M.2 slot, so you can expand your storage space with very fast and easy upgrade. Performance of the machine on day-to-day performance is as you would expect. It's extremely fast, even though it's only got a 7200 SATA drive and not an SSD. It starts up very quickly and runs very smoothly. Applications launch pretty quickly and run without a hitch, and with the 16 gigs of RAM that comes standard on this machine, the multitasking is not an issue at all. Video editing is really good on this. I use a free version of DaVinci Resolve, and my editing is completely smooth, and I get really good render times as well when rendering out the video. There's not much more to say about the standard Windows 10 performance on a machine like this. It kind of performs exactly how you would expect it to. On the gaming performance, this thing performs very, very well. It's by far the best gaming experience that I've had on a laptop or a mobile device. For those of you out there that may think that the G-Sync is a gimmick, all I can say is it's really not. It actually does make a difference, and I can't really put it into words without seeing it. Just the fluidity, the reduction of the screen tearing, it makes the games much more immersive. Most modern games I played on high or ultra still had great frame rates and completely enjoyable experience. Some of the frame rates I saw on Battlefield 1 with the ultra setting, I got average of around mid 60s, maybe low 60s. It did dip as a hiccup down to 35 a couple of times, but just popped right back up. On the high setting for Battlefield 1, I was seeing mid 70s that would occasionally drop down to 40 in real intensive times. GTA 5, most of the items are on high. I ran the benchmark and I was getting Somewhere in the 50s to low 50s as far as frames per second. No Man's Sky, I have everything set at high, and it's getting right around 60 frames per second, maybe a little less, high 50s, but it was pretty much stagnant right around 60. And in Fallout 4 at Ultra, I'm getting about 40 frames per second, but it feels really much smoother than that. I don't know if that's a byproduct of the G-Sync or what, but it feels a lot faster than 40 frames per second. And the interesting thing is, when I bumped Fallout 4 down to high resolution, I really didn't see any difference. I saw right around the 40s for the frames. So most games are going to play great. I mean, these aren't competition level frame rates, but for just the average gamer or solo gamer or whatever, it works great. I have absolutely no complaints with the game performance of this machine. On the VR front, I've used this machine for the past several weeks, and I've been using it with the Oculus Rift CV1, and it's worked flawlessly. If you've seen any of my videos recently that I've done on the CV1, those have all been done on this machine. And I've yet to run into a title that didn't work, and the machine has enough ports to support the Oculus Rift with the touch controllers, but that's about it. The one thing that's not great but still not horrible on this machine is battery life. So most laptops that have the dedicated video cards will switch over to an integrated video card when not in the game, because the integrated video cards work great for desktop apps and stuff like that, and use a lot less power, so it conserves a lot of power by switching over. Because of the GTX 1060 and the G-Sync technology, that's not an option on this device, and it uses the NVIDIA card all the time, so that uses a lot more battery. This is a large screen on this device. Using that video card all the time and powering this large screen leads to battery life right around 3 hours. That's about what I was getting of normal use, and that's considerably less if you do any gaming on the battery. That'll knock that down to about an hour if you're doing gaming. The fans on the machine are not super loud, but they do kick on, and especially when gaming, obviously. They're not loud enough to distract from the audio of the game or the enjoyment, and probably not loud enough to bother people around you, but they definitely are noticeable. The only place that the machine does get a little hot is right above the keyboard under the screen. It's never hot enough that it's too hot to touch or that you have to worry about the screen warping if you close the lid, but just something to keep in mind that it does get a little bit warm near the top of the keyboard. So my conclusion, and would I recommend this? The conclusion is it's a great entry-level gaming machine. Would I recommend it? It depends on what your uses are. If you're going to be using this in a business capacity where you're going to be traveling a lot on long flights and things like that, this is not going to be the machine for you. That battery life is probably going to be a little bit too low. If you're looking for a gaming machine where you're going to be plugged in most of the time when you're gaming, or even if you're looking for a desktop replacement, this is a fantastic desktop replacement, then I would definitely recommend this machine for you. One thing I would do though is add that M.2 card in there, or the storage in there. The 7200 drive, it's fine to load your games on there and use it for storage. The machine does bog down a little bit with that 7200 RPM drive in there, so adding the M.2 and installing the OS on that drive, and then just using the 7200 drive for your storage and your apps and stuff like that would make this a killer machine. It's a very viable desktop replacement. It's a very viable gaming machine replacement, and I actually really like it a lot. I'm really impressed with it. And if you want to check it out, I'll put a link in the description out to a link for where I purchased it on Amazon. You can check it out there, and rate and subscribe, and tell your friends. I'm on Instagram and Twitter as well, and I'm going to be putting out a lot of new videos at the beginning of the year. I have a bunch of things lined up that I'm working on. So thanks guys, I appreciate your support, and I'll see you next time.